It's a pleasure to be here, and it's great to have such a expert panel on looking at the relations between Australia and Lebanon. I must confess, in fact, when I did get the invitation to come to Beirut to do the panel, I thought it was a session on energy, because being based in Abu Dhabi, I thought it was covering oil and gas, and I know that Lebanon has oil and gas potential, so I thought the potential of oil and gas with regards to the energy of the Lebanese diaspora coming back to take advantage of the reserves that we have in the Eastern Mediterranean. But I think it's apropos, the title, of course, because of the energy of the diaspora of some 15 million people worldwide. I'm of a Greek-American origin, and we look with great envy at the work that the diaspora does in every corner of the world. Our goal here today, in the next hour and 10 minutes, is to look at the potential of the relationship between Lebanon and Australia. It's about 500,000 or just over that living in Australia today. Distance is a key factor that holds back bilateral trade, but the cultural ties, the business ties, what can be built for the future, the educational ties that are already in place. As you can see here, we have 6 panelists. They're going to do a range of 6 to 8 minutes of opening comments or presentations, and then we want to allow at least 30 minutes for a discussion amongst ourselves and to take questions from the floor as well. So have your questions ready. Just give us a signal and we'll make sure you can get your questions in. We have a short video, I think it is, about 1.5 minutes, looking at the potential, of course, of a destination in Australia. We know the beauty of Lebanon. We had a taste of it last night at the dinner, just looking at the wine sector itself. Let's go ahead and roll that video and then we'll get our presentations ready. Thanks.
How can the color blue be a feeling? Well, it's hard to describe, but it is. You see, it's different down here. The air just has more life in it. Sounds touch you. The light fills you up somehow. It's a place that stays with you. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it stays forever. That's why there's nothing like it. It's like love in your soul. Is it like love for the first time? It'll all make sense. You know it. Australia isn't just a place you see, it's a place you feel.
Okay, nicely done, thanks. Just before I continue and invite our first of the speakers, His Excellency the Ambassador Glenn Miles, our session will, at the end, include the launching of the International Chamber House and the signing of a declaration of intent. Where are we going beyond today's discussion to real action with regards to bilateral relations? I'm going to remind our panelists, with the exception of the Ambassador, who has 8 to 10 minutes, each one of you has 5 to 6 minutes in your presentation. If you see me doing a dance in front of you and saying to wrap up, it's all done in the right spirit, but it's to keep the conversation clear and so we can get to our roundtable discussion. Let's give a warm welcome first to Ambassador Glenn Miles. He's the Ambassador of Australia to Lebanon to give us an overarching theme of the bilateral relations.
Thanks, John. And I'd like to say I did have the same sense as John did when I first read last year about the energy conference, thinking it was about oil and gas, before I realised it was actually a great term to describe what the diaspora can add to Lebanon and what it can give back. So on behalf of the Australian Embassy, I'd like to congratulate the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Immigrants, Gibran Bassil, as well as members of his hard-working ministry team on putting together this conference. And I'd like to give a particularly warm welcome to those who have flown from Australia and other parts of the world to this important event. Now, this is the second time that I've had the pleasure of attending the conference, and I believe it is a wonderful initiative. It's so important that Lebanon does all it can to harness the abundant energy of the diaspora and uses this to stimulate and grow the Lebanese economy. And let's be honest, Lebanon is already doing that. You can see it in the national account figures. Just look at the flow of remittances which provide the economy with such a solid foundation. But we can and we must do more. And this conference should assist in establishing a framework for developing trade opportunities, including those encouraging investment and infrastructure and development, which is so badly needed. And I'm sure anyone who's spent time in the traffic here knows that this country does need investment in infrastructure. Well, I've only spent a year and a half in Lebanon. I've spent almost 18 years working in the region. So asif عشان بتنيكي عربي لكن بس شوية. And my experience has taught me it's the people-to-people links that underpin and define our relationship. And in this, Lebanon and Australia are just so fortunate because the Australian Lebanese community is both long-standing and diverse. It's well represented across all sectors of society, from politics to business, from culture to sport. The community has contributed in all manner of ways to Australian society. And the Australian delegation that is here with us today, one of the largest at the conference, is testament to this. And nor should we forget the Lebanese Australians that reside in other countries, particularly the Gulf. So when we talk about the Australian Lebanese diaspora, we can and should expand our horizons. And that is why events like this are so important, because they bring people together. They provide an opportunity to meet and discuss how we can better use the economic power and the knowledge of the Lebanese Australian diaspora to energise the relationship and to spread the news that both Lebanon and Australia are great places to do business. Now, in the 2013-14 financial year, the total trade between Australia and Lebanon stood at only 60 million. Now, it's important to note here that this undersells it. There's a lot of exports that are coming in that aren't being picked up in the direct figures. But whatever the real value of the trade relationship, it clearly falls a long way short of its potential. And it's up to us, both my Lebanese colleagues, the Australian government, and you here today, to help realise the opportunities that do exist. Now, with that short introduction, I'd like to take you through a few slides which briefly outline Australia's capabilities and strengths and touch on a few of the sectors where I see potential for further engagement. So, a snapshot of Australia. One of the key problems we have in boosting the bilateral trade relationships is about perceptions. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the economy and what we have, here's a quick snapshot. First off, some key facts, and you can read it, which is good. With more than 24 years of uninterrupted annual economic growth, now that's a record amongst OECD countries. Any country would be proud to have 24 years of uninterrupted growth. A AAA sovereign risk profile and diverse globally competitive industries, Australia remains well placed to build on an impressive record of prosperity. And at $1.5 trillion, Australia is the 13th largest economy in the world and was most recently ranked 5th in the world for GDP per capita by the World Bank. So in anyone's language, it's a sizable and wealthy economy. Australia's economy is also predominantly services-based, close to 80%, but it's highly diversified across a range of sectors. And most of you are probably familiar with the success and the capabilities of our resource sector, but we're also global leaders in several other areas, including agribusiness, education, tourism, and you just saw the video, and wealth management. And I'll touch on more of these in a moment. And as you can hopefully see, I know it's a bit small to read from this slide, the country's sophisticated financial services industry is the largest contributor to the economy, generating 9% of its total gross value added. But it's also worth noting that our scientific, education and telecommunication sectors make up almost 15% of total output, demonstrating Australia's highly skilled, well-educated and innovative workforce. Now we get to the small print, and that's why I've got it very small, so you can't see it unless you've got your glasses on. So what is the business environment like? Well, thankfully I'm able to say that Australia is one of the easiest places in the world to do business. Overall, Australia ranks 10th in the world for ease of doing business and 4th when compared with economies with a similar or larger population. And for those looking to expand and thinking about opening an office in Australia, We rank 4th in obtaining credit and 7th in starting a business. And that's all good news for those looking to expand operations further afield, including using Australia as a gateway into Asia. And just in case you needed further convincing, our latest FDI figures also serve as an excellent indicator of where the global market sees opportunity, value and certainty. Australia's global share of foreign direct investment was 2.3% in 2013. Now, that works out to be almost $600 billion. And it's a figure that only has grown on the back of continued economic expansion and integration with trading partners, not only in Asia, but also in the MENA region. So in 2013, two-way merchandise trade with MENA countries came to $16.2 billion. Now this figure is enhanced by our growing aviation links. There are 140 flights a week between the Gulf countries and Australia, and the presence of more than 350 companies in the region. So following on from the fundamentals, I just want to quickly highlight a couple of sectors where I see real opportunities for growth. The first area is agribusiness. Australia's reputation as a safe and secure source of quality produce and premium products has resulted in Australian agri-food products reaching $39 billion, with 9 of the top 10 destination markets in Asia. Now you notice that MENA region isn't captured in this graphic, but that's not to say it's not an important market. And in 2013, food and agricultural products to GC countries alone totaled $2 billion. Now, Lebanon is a smaller but still important market. And to give you an example, in 2015, beef imports into Lebanon came to more than 10.5 million, up from 7 to 8 million over the preceding 3 years. And in my time here, I've been very surprised and very pleased by the quality as well as the strong reputation of Australian beef. You see it in just about every restaurant you go into. As I've already touched on, Australia is also home to one of the region's most sophisticated financial sectors, providing access to capital and financial expertise, particularly in wealth management. Australia's full of funds under management is the 3rd largest in the world and the largest in the Asian region. Of course, I don't need to tell Lebanese about the importance of the banking and financial sector. And to me, there are obvious sectorial synergies between our countries that we can and we should utilise. The Bank of Beirut has already provided an example by purchasing the Bank of Sydney and establishing a foothold in the Australian market. Access to quality education is also an area where Australia is excelling. Education services are now one of Australia's leading exports, and Australia is home to 20 of the top 400 universities, and we attract students from around the world. We are the 4th most popular destination for students choosing to study overseas. Now that means we attract more international students than much larger economies such as Germany, and we have about the same number, and I think we've just overtaken France. Of course, Lebanon has its own highly regarded tertiary sector, and I've been fortunate enough to visit many of your leading universities here. And there is scope to grow the number of Lebanese students choosing Australia as an education destination. But what I want to see is greater collaboration between researchers based in Australia and Lebanon to take advantage of our already close people-to-people links. Finally, and picking up the education theme, I just want to mention the subject of innovation. You can see on this slide just some of the important innovations developed by Australians which have helped revolutionise how the world does things, from Google Maps to IVF, Wi-Fi to the bionic ear. But while Australians are proud of their past achievements, R&D is all about solving the problems of the future. Lebanon is fortunate to have such a highly young, educated population. Your human capital, as evidenced by all of you here today, is, I believe, one of your major strengths. And I know Lebanon is also trying to develop, with considerable success, its own innovative startup program for IT entrepreneurs. So how can we help? Well, that's where the embassy comes in. And before I should go on, I note that Austrade is the main government agency charged with assisting trade and investment opportunities. And here is a list of some of the services they provide. But what I would do is encourage anyone here who has an interest in either investing in Australia or establishing or looking at trade opportunities is to contact the embassy. Now, once again, I want to thank to all the event organisers and everyone in attendance today. And as I said at the outset, Lebanon has a very well-established community links with its diaspora, especially with its Australian brothers and sisters, so many of whom have been successful in business. And the Australian delegation represented at this conference is testament to that. And hopefully occasions such as this will enable us to identify new opportunities to build on these achievements. Now, just looking at the video, I think the message there was important. Just remember, there is nothing like Australia. And with that, shukran kathir.
Not long after I landed in Australia, in someone else's shoes, with an empty suitcase that was full of a dream, I fell in love with the three things: a country, a woman, and an idea. I was fascinated by the diversity in Australia. The diversity of everything: faces, races, languages, cultures, cuisines, religions. I decided to call Australia home. The woman that I fell in love with is the same woman that I'm still in love with. The mother of my 3 boys, an Australian-born Italian. And the idea was the idea of how to communicate with this diversity, these people who come from every corner of the earth. So with my wife, we started Australia and the world's first multicultural communication, advertising, promotion, negotiation company. The work of that company took us everywhere, not only to every one of the 200 communities that make up Australia, but quite often to their countries of origin. So we ended up not only teaching them about many things, but quite often we learned from them. Right from the start, Australia and the Australian taught me to be fair and fair dinkum. The indigenous taught me to respect the land. I learned from the British to respect the law. And earlier, the French taught me to respect the language. The Chinese taught me how to work and work hard. Yet, the Japanese taught me how to negotiate, while the Dutch taught me how to bargain. I learned from the Greeks the art of debate. The Arabs taught me the art of hospitality. I learned from the Indonesian how to respect the elderly, while the Filipinos taught me about the importance of the family and its centrality. I learned from the Vietnamese to be tenacious. The German taught me to be precise. The Korean taught me to value education. I learned from the American to value liberty. The Russian taught me the meaning of steadfastness. I learned from the Thai how to smile, and the Portuguese taught me how to be polite. I learned from the Swiss the art of neutrality. The New Zealanders taught me how to innovate and improvise. I learned from everyone. I learned from Africa to appreciate music. Europe taught me how diversity can generate unity. I learned from the world the meaning of oneness. I learned from Hinduism to look beyond my human frailty, while Buddhism taught me about relinquishment. Judaism taught me to always have hope. Islam taught me not to ever lose faith in God. And Christianity taught me to love and forgive without any discrimination. The most important lesson that I learned from you, my own people, the Lebanese, I learned how to learn from everyone. And from everyone I learned that if you want to be effective in your communication, whether you are buying or selling or advertising or marketing or negotiating or trading, you need to understand the culture and the language of your target audience. And this is what we learned from the Phoenicians. Those people who have ruled the Mediterranean long before the Greeks and the Roman by learning the languages and understanding the culture and trading. This inspired me. With the Lebanese in Australia, and all the migrant to create the Ethnic Business Awards, the longest running business award in Australia. While I was doing the award, I discovered that not only migrants in general have a higher percentage of self-employed in the country, but the Lebanese have double of the national figure. This is over the last 4 decades, 5 decades. So I learned from them how they have learned from their ancestors, the Phoenician. The awards recognize the contribution against the odds of migrants. And over the last 28 years, the Lebanese have received more of these awards than any other communities. And the figure constantly in Australia is always double of their number of self-employed. Now, to me, countries can run out of oil and gas and petroleum and minerals, but Lebanon will never run out of the human talents. It's in our gene. We inherited that, and for thousands of years, we are still trading with it. And it's our global energy. Doesn't matter what happened, the Lebanese diaspora will always be a global energy for the Lebanese. And allow me to conclude by nice poems that I remember that was said by a famous diplomat from Lebanon and a writer in Brazil in the early 60s by the name of Yusuf Sauda. And he talked about the achievement of the earliest migrant, and he said in Arabic, "Masha ala barakatillah." This is about the migrant. عدته من عزم لبنان وصلب صواني من فك يقتحم الأهوال منتزعا حق الحياة بأظفار وأسنان حتى بنى القصر فوق الكوخ يرفعه ما الفخر بالقصر كل الفخر بالباني. And then when they told him about the problem of diversity, he said something also so good. He said, قالوا الطوائف والأديان ترهقه قلت المفاخر في تعداد أدياني ما مثل لبنان بلدا ارتفعت فوقه حرية الدين والدنيا لإنساني شعب سموح إذا صلى يرنحه صوت المسيح أو تجويد قرآني. And this is his conclusion about the diaspora. He said, لكل شعب على وجه الثرى وطن يعيش فيه ويرعاه بتحنان ونحن بين حمى أرزه ومهجره لنا على الأرض لبنانان اثنان قالوا ذاك المدى في لبنان قلت لهم فالعالمان مدى لبناننا الثاني. I want now really to conclude by telling you I'm so pleased to have one of the recipients of the award, Mr. Fadi Zouki. He received the award because, again, he achieved against the odd. He made the abnormal normal. He created an environment in every hospital, out of 60 hospitals in Australia, by establishing a mini shopping center. And his work is now right across the world. Also, I have a sponsor of the award by the name of Tony Jaja, who has the fastest growing company in Australia in telecommunication, and the third largest company after Telstra and Optus. And Tony, again, employs more than 1,200 people, including in Lebanon, same as Fadi. Thank you very much for listening, and I thank the minister, and I think I'd love to give him an award because of what he achieved, what he did by bringing us all here deserves a very good award. Thank you.
In Australia, when we give a public function with a public speech, we acknowledge the original owners of the land, the Aboriginal tribes who owned the land. Today, I like to start by acknowledging and paying tribute to the Lebanese who remained in Lebanon, notwithstanding the hardship of wars, bombing, lack of infrastructure, demolitions. the Lebanese. Without them, we will not have our Lebanese, and we will not have a land to return to. I wish today to share my 47 years journey, the highlights of that journey in Australia. Having grown up in Lebanon, coming from a very small village called Aktanit in the south of Lebanon. I call it my roots, my inspiration, and the platform that launches us when we're outside Lebanon. To living in Australia, that's Aktanit, to living in Australia, the land of opportunities, real opportunities and challenges, the land of fairness, where everyone has got access to health, to education. I'd like to show you where I live, the most beautiful place in Sydney, Coogee, from an Aboriginal name, Kuja, bad smell, but really it's the smell of seaweeds by the shore. And the place where I work, the University of Notre Dame, Australia, that shares my values, values that I like to instill in my students, because my job is human capital, but not just a human capital that is competent technically with an enormous knowledge base, but a human capital that has professionalism, integrity, trustworthiness, compassion, and real compassion for the other humans, and a desire to make a difference by a contribution to a world full of wars and where the divide between the rich and the poor is becoming bigger and bigger. And as a doctor, as a lawyer, and as a scientist, these are the degrees that Australia gave me the opportunity to acquire at no cost to myself, taxpayer funded. Now, my contribution to Australia and back to Lebanon is to, as a doctor, be a teacher, an inspirer, someone who can make a difference in someone's life, someone who is significant in someone's life. And to illustrate how we do that is, through the years, I had the opportunity to sit on medical boards that regulate the conduct of bad, misbehaving doctors. I had the opportunity to sit on boards that regulate the delivery of health services to disadvantaged people. I sit on the board of 4 major hospitals, and I run now a clinical school for the University of Notre Dame. And in terms of what we instill in our students, who are graduates with degree from any kind of degree, they are philosophers, they are musicians, they are accountants in our school, we instill in them those values, including the quest to help the disadvantaged. And in Australia, we still have the challenge of Aboriginal people having poor health with high morbidity and high mortality. The way we have done that is by role modeling. This is our school in Australia. Role modeling what we believe in. So I had the opportunity to be the founder, the co-founder of an old people home that offer multicultural services, including services to the Lebanese. And it's currently run by the Antonine Sisters in Melbourne. It has 60 residential beds. The next thing we did is in 2006, when Lebanon was bombed, our heart bled in Australia, and we formed the Australians for Lebanon group, and we raised, through an evening called Sahra, $100,000 that we donated to the Red Cross in Lebanon. And then I came with a delegation of Australians, lawyers and doctors, and we studied the south of Lebanon, the impact of cluster bombs on the health of the local community, and wrote a report to the Senate about it, which then led to a generous amount by the Australian government to help clear the bombs. Finally, just one more thing. Thank you. And also it led to a recommendation for banning of the indiscriminate effect of cluster bombs on people's health. Just as a last thing, I want to share with you that in our course, we value differences, as Joe has already said. Because we have got students from all walks of life, we've got musicians, we've got philosophers, we have got accountants, we have got lawyers, we always value that difference and include it in our teaching. So our teaching is what we call the Socratic way of teaching, where we get people to think and questions, but also share their talents, which enriches the school. And often we start our tutorial by inviting students, for example, who are opera singers, to share their talent. So we can start the tutorial with an aria from an opera, and then that gives us a platform to get really engrossed in the nitty-gritty learning and teaching of science. Having said that, I wish to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to share it with you. My associate dean is with me today from Notre Dame University, because we like to make a stronger connection by Lebanon. Our university is exploring the potential of having students from Lebanon disadvantaged come and study medicine in our university, and we're exploring funding a scholarship for them. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thanks very much for that. And we'll pick up in a similar vein with our next speaker. But I'd like to get, after our presentation, share concrete examples of how we can foster that educational collaboration and how to best get back to Lebanon in that spirit. Let me welcome Elliot Ritz, who's a lecturer at the School of Business at UNSW in Canberra. And very interesting conversation. We had a chance to talk before about Lebanese migration and the success stories that exist and some of the challenges. So this is about the Lebanese immigration to Australia, challenges and opportunities as she looks forward. Elliot, do you want to come up as well? Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation to come. What I'm going to do today is just to give you a snapshot of a number of the different studies that I've done on Lebanese emigration and business in Australia. Many of you will be familiar that Lebanese have been migrating to Australia since the 1880s. And we usually divide the waves of migration into four. So 1880 to World War I, and 1947 to 1966, and then 1967 to 75, and then post-Civil War, during the Civil War, 1975 to 1990. But in all the waves of emigration to Australia, Lebanese have been significantly involved in business, and the tendency to self-employment, as was mentioned by the previous speaker. And I've done a number of studies. What I've put up here is actually a study that I did with the Hadsheet Association of Australia, looking at areas of employment and business in the community. And as you can see in this community snapshot, the Hadsheet community in Sydney is heavily involved in the construction industry, and that has emerged as a niche market for them. And if we go to the next slide, please, we'll see that 60% of the men in the community are working in construction. Mothers still in the factory sector in a significant proportion, but with the children, 20% moving into the professions and then retail. So then I was interested, well, is this a pattern that we see more broadly across the Arabic businesses in Australia? And a somewhat different picture emerged when I looked more widely. I've just listed here a number of the different Lebanese Chamber of Commerce and Arab Chambers of Commerce, many of you represented here today, just to draw your attention that there's a wide range of business activity today in Australia amongst Lebanese. And so just to go to the next slide, what I've done here is looked at 780 different businesses that are listed in the Arabic Business Directory in Australia, and we see a somewhat different pattern in the clustering and concentration in the business patterns. And what we see is the number one niche is food and catering amongst the Arabic businesses. And then the second, that's with 26% of the business concentration across the 780 companies. And then the second is weddings, the wedding industry. And I guess we shouldn't be too surprised about the importance of the wedding industry in Australia amongst the Arabic businesses when we think how costly weddings have become. And then the third major area, arts and entertainment, and then fourth, beauty and personal care. So the next, I guess, major question that a lot of researchers ask about immigrant self-employment and the tendency for Lebanese across Lebanese, the different waves of Lebanese emigration, is why? Why do Lebanese tend to prefer self-employment? Is it a challenge or is it an opportunity? Is it a virtue of necessity, or is it a choice? This is one of the questions that researchers have consistently come back to, and what I find is that it's really both. Lebanese have consistently encountered in all the different waves of migration challenges and structural impediments to their labour force participation in a number of the different countries that they have settled in, including Australia. And the most significant impediment they found in the first wave of Lebanese emigration to Australia was the White Australia policy, which actually enacted in law significant barriers to their ability to work in a range of different professions and to own property in Australia. And this accounted for the types of businesses that Lebanese then went into in the first wave. So they were significantly self-employed in hawking and then moved to the country towns in Australia and had dry goods stores and general stores. And that also was an opportunity because it was a need for the Australian economy at that time as the territorial expansion into the country towns was facilitated by the presence of Lebanese traders. But as we've moved forward, you see in the different waves that Lebanese consistently find opportunities, new opportunities for businesses. If we just go back a slide, sorry. So we see with the Hadshit community found a significant niche in the construction industry, and then we see the emergence of the weddings. So I will say that it's both a challenge and an opportunity to be in business. But when I did a number of different interviews with Lebanese entrepreneurs in Australia, I asked them why. Why have they gone into business? What is their main motivation? And these were if we go back a slide, please, the four main motivations were that it's an ambition and an opportunity, but also that running a business enabled them to hire their family and to work in a family business. And then that the other driving motivation is that more money can be made in business than just wages, and identifying a gap in the market, and then lastly the preference to be your own boss and to work for yourself. And so, next slide please, finally just what is success? When I asked the entrepreneurs how do they measure the success of their business, what consistently came across from all of the interviews is that making money isn't the most important thing. They almost all rated having a successful family as being more important than just making money alone. And lastly, what was the secret to success? So many have said that a lot of it actually comes down to good luck. So, and I leave you with this quote. So, always in your life, you've got bad luck and good luck, and you can't cry when you've got bad luck and be happy when you've got good luck. You have to take both. Lose and win. Healthy and sick, that's how you can live and be happy. So thank you very much, everyone.
Beyond the signing of this intent going forward. person I'm going to call it to the stage next is someone I had a pleasure sitting down with that great entertainment we had last night. And we loved kindly introduce me to Mike Williams, who spends his career now looking at trade relations, and in particular between the two countries that we're talking about this morning, Australia and Lebanese Chamber of Commerce and trade relations, and how to take what we have today, fairly small bilateral trade, and how to build on it for the future. Warm welcome to Mike Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, John. The theme of my talk today is Lebanon's role in the new emerging markets. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by saying how good it is to be here and to feel some of the vibration that existed in this wonderful city, Beirut, up to the early 70s. A period I look back at and from which I derive my strength to move forward with the intention to see Lebanon back on its feet with the same vibration and will to play its natural role on the world stage. Ever since our chamber was established 30 years ago, it has always been our desire to see this magical small country rise and be the peaceful place, be the peaceful and vibrant business place it was and we all want it to be. We have never ever given up on Lebanon, even in the most difficult of times, and can proudly say that we have kept a permanent business and physical presence right here in Beirut in the most difficult of periods that Lebanon faced. We have always promoted Beirut as a launching pad for Australian products and services in the Middle East region and beyond. In fact, and I'm proud to inform you, that while Lebanon was still suffering terribly as a result of the war that was going on, the Chamber, through seminars and constant meetings with the business community and the Australian government, both federal and state, maintained a strong belief in Lebanon's ability to rise from the ashes and move forward. This strong belief in Lebanon gained a lot of respect from both the business community and both the state and federal governments. At present, we are working very closely with major Australian companies by having them visit Lebanon to meet with key business leaders with whom we have a great old relationship and who are heavily involved in the Middle East region as a whole. We have a very strong partnership, a business relationship with the Australian Business Chamber, which is the oldest and largest and most effective chamber in Australia. Together we work hand in hand in all matters related to trade and services, and we are currently working on the 2017 Congress of Chambers, of World Chambers in Sydney, which we would like the Lebanese to be heavily involved in. We have made a lot of grounds in promoting Beirut as the ideal location and most suitable city to launch Australian products and services in readiness for the emerging markets in the region. I can honestly tell you that all the delegations we have so far brought to Lebanon were highly impressed with the professionalism of those that they have met and were able to see for themselves the great potentials that do exist. Definitely there's a lot of hard work to be done, but we are confident that with perseverance and strong belief in what we do, the end result is positive for both Lebanon and the Australian business community. I must point out that we are all well aware that Lebanon's various problems have accumulated over the years and must be seriously addressed, particularly in matters related to the business world, where other countries in the region have developed excellent modern systems to help the business community transact with ease and efficiency. Although we are aware of Lebanon's woes, the government, however, must do all it could to modernize Lebanon's bureaucratic system in order to attract the international business community. Lebanon has all the attributes to make it a great place to transact, but it definitely needs to shape up its bureaucratic services in all sectors. On another note, the Chamber has accompanied the success of promoting and marketing Lebanese foodstuffs on the Australian market. And there are many wonderful stories on Lebanese manufacturers' ability to export in the most difficult periods with the Chamber's help in logistics right here in Beirut. We can proudly say that over the last 30 years, the Chamber was behind the launching of many Lebanese products on the Australian market through exhibitions and promotions, among them the introduction of Lebanese wine, beer and arak. Our ongoing immediate exercise is to have fresh Lebanese produce on the Australian market based on viable studies and seasonal differences. We have now elevated this exercise to ministerial level in both ministries of agriculture in Australia and Lebanon, channeling all correspondence through the Lebanese embassy in Canberra and Foreign Affairs in Beirut. I'm happy to advise that recently serious meetings in this regard were held here in Beirut by an Australian agricultural official. Lebanon Foreign Affairs and the Lebanese Ministry of Agriculture did a great job in receiving this agri official. This is a major leap forward in seeing this exercise come to fruition. While in Beirut, I'll be pursuing this major exercise with all the relevant parties in the hope we can now move to execution. Ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility to see our beloved homeland be the place we all aspire it to be lies on all of us, and not just officialdom. Let us speak out when necessary, but not always concentrating on the negative and not seeing the positive aspects. Lebanon has proved time and again that it has a tremendous will to survive and a never-ending desire and appetite for peaceful, good living. I must also mention that regardless of the great help of those in the diaspora, Lebanon wouldn't have survived if it weren't for our people that remained here, right here in Lebanon, and faced all the wars and hardships that this small country have suffered over the years. I must conclude by saying that Lebanon has a great friend called Australia. This wonderful land that have received our people with open arms over the last 150 years deserve our deep respect. The performance of Australia's ambassador to Lebanon, Mr. Glenn Miles, is a living proof of this great relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, let us resolve to work together hand in hand for the well-being of our people and this wonderful homeland of ours, Lebanon. Thank you.
When I come to Lebanon, I get very emotional, so I forget about writing speeches. I talk from the heart. That's my country here. Mr. Basile, what an amazing man you are. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for uniting us for the second time in Lebanon from across the world. A big gratitude goes to you. Minister Alan Hakim, I acknowledge you for the strength of will you have to deal with a lot of challenges that Lebanon is going through economically, and by no means it takes a lot of talent and will and vision to deal with it. So again, I congratulate you as well. Ambassador Glenn Miles, our people of Lebanon, the panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to share my story as it is with you. I think this is the best way I could pass a message about Lebanon and Australia. I left Australia the first time with my family. I was 1 year old. My mom died 1 week before our departure to Australia. She was going to Australia to meet her parents, and she didn't make it. My father continued his migration process, and we stayed for 4 years, and my father decided to come back to Lebanon. We came back to Lebanon, and regretfully, 1 year later, the war broke out, the civil war broke out. And so we had to experience displacement, tragedies, a very unforgiving civil war that thousands and thousands of Lebanese were wasted. However, what I learned during that process of time is I learned resilience. I learned faith in God. I learned faith in my country. And those elements I took with me to Australia, and they were the axis of my success in Australia. We left Lebanon in 1984. Lebanon was in a very bad shape. We left from the port here close to Beirut on a boat to Cyprus. I can never forget the image of Beirut being completely torn apart by constant shelling. So that last scene remained in my heart and in my vision up to date. And that's why I decided when I arrived in Australia, the land of opportunities, that I will do my utmost to also look after my country of origin, Lebanon. Australia has been great to our family and great to all the Lebanese diaspora. They house over 500,000 of Lebanese origin. They gave us unlimited opportunities and also gave us an opportunity to achieve, of course, our dreams. I arrived in Australia, I did the last 2 years of my secondary education. I didn't even know who the Prime Minister of Australia was. 6 years later, I was lecturing in law in university. I taught over 7,000 students from Australian community in law. The first opportunity I got. And a few years later, I established with my brothers the fastest growing in Australia, the Zuki Group, employing over 6,000 Australians over the years, establishing over 270 stores across Australia. And I'm very proud to say I came back to my country, Lebanon, and established a store in the Keslik here in Lebanon as well. Australia has given us a lot to learn. It taught us to be fair, to be forgiving, to accept others, to have the liberty, and your liberty stops at others' liberties. But also Australia taught us never, ever to forget your country of origin. They encouraged us to keep our values. They encouraged us to be entrepreneurials. They encouraged us to stay in contact, and they embedded those values in their own legal system. And how could I help Lebanon? I asked myself that question. I started doing that at university. We started the first university club, Lebanese club at university in the history of Australia, where we gathered together about 60 students to basically join together to try and promote Lebanon in a far more positive way than it was in the 80s. And to get quorum, we needed about 80. So we cheated. We got 10 more Chinese to join us to get the numbers so that we can sign that club. Vis-a-vis that, we also established a Chamber of Commerce in Victoria. The Chamber of Commerce played a very active role in order to build an economic bridge between Australia and Lebanon. We felt business is the only way that we can bring the two nations together. We also felt that's the only way we can help Lebanon rise over its political, economic, and social difficulties is to support Lebanon economically. And we also note that the biggest fear Lebanon experienced over this period of time, especially in our recent times, is the economic terrorism that a lot of countries are trying to impose on Lebanon. And we refuse that utterly. And we have done many trade missions. We have signed many MOUs, including the Beirut Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Tripoli Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the the International Lebanese Business Council, and also Halfa in France as well. And we've done many events to try and promote Lebanon positively, encourage business between the two nations. As my colleague indicated earlier, we also promote Lebanon as a platform for East Africa and the Gulf region. We also tell the Australians that there are over 15 million of Lebanese origin around the world. They are wheeling and dealing one way or the other, and you need them to incite business into the nation. As far as the Lebanese coming to Australia, Australia is a great place for investment. As I said, I am a living testimony. Our success is purely and only purely for the support that Australia has given us and the opportunity Australia has given us. So today, I have put together an idea to our minister, and that is to try and launch an international chamber house in Lebanon. What I felt is that in order for a diaspora to come back to Lebanon, families will only come back if they have a house in Lebanon. Single people will only come back if they have a relationship in Lebanon. And business people would come back, of course, through the efforts of the chambers that are here. But if you want the chambers of commerce from around the world to come here and become proactive in the Lebanese economy, you must give them a residence. And this is where the idea stems from. So I thank the Minister of Commerce and the Minister of Foreign Ministry for the support and acknowledging the idea, and we'd like to invite them to witness this declaration today.
مرحبا، اسمي شوكت مسلماني من سيدني استراليا. هاجرت على استراليا بسنة 1977. كان عمري 11 سنة. بعد 5 سنين التحقت بحزب العمال، ولليوم صار لي 35 سنة عضو بحزب العمال. انتخبت عدة مرات ببلدية روكدال، 4 مرات نائب الرئيس و4 مرات الرئيس البلدية، وحاليا أنا في مجلس الشيوخ الأوبوزيشن ويب، يعني مدير شؤون المعارضة في مجلس الشيوخ. وأنا إلي الشرف أنه أكون من أصل لبناني. أنا آسف أنه ما راح أكون معاكم وشارك بهذا المؤتمر، وهنئ الوزارة الخارجية على هذا المؤتمر، وأتمنى النجاح لكم، لأنه اللبنانيين بحاجة للتواصل بين بعض حول العالم. الجالية اللبنانية أنجبت، اشتغلت، شقت، عملت كتير حول العالم، وخاصة نحن بنعرف بأستراليا الهجرة اللبنانية من 1860، يعني هجرة عتيقة. الناس يعني بالطيارة بتاخد 18 ساعة، كانت تاخد أكثر من شهر بالباخرة الناس توصل على أستراليا. وبأستراليا اشتغلوا، شقوا، عملوا بكل إخلاص لبلدهم الجديدة أستراليا، ونجحوا. الجالية اللبنانية بأستراليا حوالي 300,000، إن كانوا بسيدني، بفيكتوريا، بأدلايد، بعدة ولايات، بس ولكن خاصة بولاية نيو ساوث ويلز اللي هي فيها العدد الأكبر بأستراليا، حوالي فيها 8 مليون نسمة. اللبنانيين نجحوا بكل المجالات، الاقتصاد، بالسياسة، بالسبورت، بالليترشر، الأدب، بكل المجالات، وخاصة بالسياسة الأسترالية. خاصة اللبنانيين دخلوا بالسياسة، حتى في لبناني من بيت علم أول نائب المجلس الشيوخ انتخب ب 1925. أنا لي الشرف إنه أكون كمان بمجلس الشيوخ، وفي عدة نواب كانوا دخلوا على البرلمان الأسترالي، منهم ريتشارد توبا كان سبيكر، في حاليا توماس جورج ديبوتي سبيكر، سابقا كان في وزير ادوار عباد، وزيرة باربرا بيري، وعدة اشخاص دخلوا البرلمان الولاية نيو ساوث ويلز. والجميع بتعرف نجاح ماري بشير، اللي هي بروفيسور ماري بشير، نجحت بانتخاب، يعني انتخبت 4 مرات، خدمت 12 سنة كحاكمة ولاية نيو ساوث ويلز. هذا بيفرجي انه اللبناني اذا عمل أعطي المجال أنه يعمل ينجح ويقدم للمجتمع اللي هو ساكن فيه. للأسف اللبنانيين كانوا مضطرين يهاجروا بال 1850 على أستراليا، واللبنانيين حاليا عم بيهاجروا أستراليا ويهاجروا لأمريكا ولكندا أفريقيا وغيره. نحن يعني أنا تمنياتي متمنى إنه الحكومة اللبنانية تصنع مجالات للبنانيين إنه يبقوا بلبنان، يعملوا للبنان، لأنه الخسارة الكبيرة للبنان لما اللبناني الشاب بيهاجر ويسكن ويقدم للمجتمع الآخر وما عم يقدم للمجتمع اللي هو منه لبنان. أنا يعني بهني الوزارة الخارجية وكل المشاركين بهذا المجال انه يشوفوا كيف ممكن يصير في تعامل بين رجال الاعمال والنساء بالاعمال حول العالم، انه كيف يصير في ترابط بينهم وبين المغتربين ليدعموا المجتمع اللبناني. حقيقة اللي عم نشوفه بلبنان انه ما في رئيس جمهورية، البرلمان ممدد له، ما عم ينتخب رئيس الجنرال، رئيس الجيش مش منتخب لحد اليوم. يعني هذا ما بيعطي اوبتيميزم، يعني بيعطي مجال انه اللبناني يحس انه في مستقبل. نطلب من الحكومة اللبنانية ومن الشعب اللبناني انه يعمل لاستقرار البلد. ونحن اخيرا انا بتمنى النجاح لهذا المؤتمر، النجاح والنجاح للجميع.
Excellency Minister Gibran Bessil, dear friends, Mr. Ambassador, dear panelists, ladies and gentlemen, allow me just to shift for the official words in Lebanese. في ختام هذه الندوة المميزة التي تم خلالها استعراض مواضيع هامة تتعلق بمجتمعات الاغتراب وتطورها والفرص التي تحققت والتي ممكن أن تتحقق، أود أن أؤكد على مدى سروري أن أكون بينكم اليوم، خصوصاً أنه تجمع لبنان بأستراليا علاقات وثيقة ومتينة وطويلة الأمد مدعومة بروابط مجتمعية تجعل ملتقانا اليوم على قدر كبير من الأهمية، خصوصاً وأنه يجمع نخبة من اللبنانيين المغتربين الذين نعتز بهم ونفتخر بإنجازاتهم التي رفعت اسم لبنان عالياً. لقد أطلعنا المشاركون على الصعوبات والتحديات التي واجهها المغترب اللبناني وعلى قصص نجاحات وإنجازات للبنانيين ولبنانيات مغتربات ومغتربين في أستراليا، شهادات وتجارب تثبت لنا مراراً وتكراراً على ترحيب أستراليا بالقدرات اللبنانية، حيث شكلت بيئة حاضنة ساعدت الطاقات اللبنانية على الاندماج والإنتاج والمشاركة الفاعلة في الاقتصاد والمجتمع الأسترالي. أستراليا التي أنتجت شخصيات اغترابية تبوأت مناصب عليا من وزراء ونواب ورجال أعمال، نحبذ عودتهم إلى لبنان للمساهمة في الإنتاج الوطني ولكي يشكلوا دعامة للاقتصاد من خلال الخبرات التي اكتسبوها، فهم ثروة من ثروات الوطن، ونحن متعلقون برجوع جميع أبنائنا بشكل كبير. سيداتي سادتي، انطلاقاً من وسع الانتشار اللبناني وضعنا في وزارة الاقتصاد والتجارة خطة عمل جدية لدخول أسواق جدية وجديدة تحوي مجالات وفرصاً تجارية عديدة غير مستثمرة وغير مستغلة، وتضم هذه الخطة العمل على تعزيز العلاقات الاجتماعية والثقافية من خلال تواصل الجاليات اللبنانية مع الوطن لبنان ودعوتهم إلى لعب دورهم الفاعل كجسر عبور بين لبنان ودول الاغتراب في إطار تفعيل الدبلوماسية الاقتصادية الهادفة إلى أن يكون لبنان منبراً لتصدير الثقافة والتجارة والخدمات. يقدر عدد الجالية اللبنانية في أستراليا بحوالي 400,000 لبناني، جالية استطاعت الانخراط في المجتمع الأسترالي لتبحث عن فرص لتطوير العلاقات التجارية والاقتصادية والاستثمارية بين البلدين وتعود بالفائدة على لبنان وأستراليا. هذا في الواقع ما يخدم الدبلوماسية الاقتصادية التي نعمل ضمن إطارها بالتعاون التام مع وزارة الخارجية لوضع رؤية يكون فيها المغتربون والمقيمون اللبنانيون يدا واحدة، علما أن المغتربين لطالما كانوا سندا للوطن في جميع الظروف. تحية تقدير كبيرة لهم جميعا أينما حلوا وأينما كانوا. أيها الحضور الكريم، يشكل القطاع الخاص ركيزة أساسية للاقتصاد اللبناني، وهنا أود التركيز على أهمية جمع كافة الغرف ومجالس الأعمال لاستكمال وربط شبكات الاغتراب اللبنانية على مستوى عالمي بما يسمى International Chamber House الذي نحن بصدد إطلاقه اليوم، حتى يكون هناك رؤية وتوجهات منسقة إن لم نقل موحدة هادفة إلى دعم الاقتصاد اللبناني ودعم أبناء الوطن أينما وجدوا. هذه التجربة المشتركة مع وزارة الخارجية ما هي إلا لتعزيز وتحريك القطاع الخاص ليلعب دوره الفاعل على الصعيد الوطني وليكون قاطرة للنمو الاقتصادي، حيث يكون من شأن هذه الغرفة العالمية الموحدة التطرق إلى الفرص غير المستغلة وفتح قنوات تنموية واقتصادية واستثمارية مستقبلية، لا سيما في قطاعات الطاقة والابتكار والتكنولوجيا والتعليم والبنى التحتية والصحة، والعمل على تطوير لا مركزية التجارة البينية لتخفيف مخاطر التركز في بلدان محددة. وهنا أود التشديد على ضرورة تخفيف المعوقات التي تواجه التبادل التجاري والاستثماري بين البلدين، كما وإعادة إحياء اتفاقية التعاون الاقتصادي والتجاري التي تم التوقيع عليها في العام 1998 بين لبنان وأستراليا للارتقاء بالعلاقات الثنائية بين البلدين. وأنوه بالدور المهم الذي تلعبه غرفة التجارة والصناعة اللبنانية الأسترالية كنقطة وصل بين الشراكة والشركات من كلا البلدين وعملها الدؤوب لتحقيق الأهداف التي تعود بالفائدة على لبنان واقتصاده. سيداتي سادتي، يشكل لبنان المكان الأنسب للمستثمرين، وذلك لأسباب عدة تتمثل بموقعه الجغرافي في منطقة الشرق الأوسط وغناه باليد العاملة الكفؤة، بالإضافة إلى الانتشار اللبناني الكبير. هذه المقومات وغيرها تساهم في أن يلعب لبنان دورا بارزا في ترويج العلامات التجارية والمنتجات الأسترالية. وعليه نعول على جلسة اليوم التي استطاعت إلقاء الضوء على الفرص المتاحة من أجل تطوير شراكات ضمن إطار التبادل التجاري، الأمر الذي نعتمد عليه لتعزيز الروابط بين لبنان وأستراليا والمساهمة في تطوير تجارتنا الثنائية. لقد أصبح العالم قرية صغيرة بفضل تطور المواصلات والاتصالات، وبالتالي لم تعد حجة بعد المسافات مقبولة في ظل هذا التقدم، خصوصا مع وجود جالية لبنانية كبيرة في مختلف دول العالم. وعليه أتأمل أن أكون هذه المبادرة فاعلة لتطوير مشاريع عملية تعود بالفائدة على الاقتصاد الوطني الذي يعاني اليوم من ضغوط على كافة الأصعدة. وأؤكد على أننا لن نتوانى على بذل الجهود اللازمة لإنجاح هذه الخطوة الأولى من نوعها، ونتمنى أن تستكمل هذه الخطوة وتوضع في الأمام وتصبح منتجة في أسرع وقت ممكن. ختاما أتقدم بالتقدير للجهود المبذولة من قبل سفير أستراليا في لبنان مستر جلين مايلز. Thank you. على اهتمامه في تطوير العلاقات المشتركة بين البلدين، والشكر الأكبر والأكيد أيضا لرئيس غرفة التجارة والصناعة الأسترالية اللبنانية فادي زوكي الصديق على نخوته ونشاطه ومتابعته لأمور العلاقات الثنائية الأسترالية اللبنانية. وأخيرا وليس آخرا ومن أعمق القلب أتوجه بالشكر للوزير الصديق النشيط الحبيب جبران باسيل الذي يقوم بمبادرات تشكل واحة في صحراء الجمود السياسي والاقتصادي والإقليمي الذي يعيشه لبنان. If you allow me, if I have time, I could say 2 words. You can say all you want. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm going to get to the airport eventually, so don't take too much. 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. Just to give my modest opinion about what I heard today from the panelists. I want to be clear on that level. I'm always having the same speech to all who's coming to the Ministry of Economy and Trade. It's time now to invest in Lebanon, as said Fadi Zouki. There is a saying in French that says, on investit au son des canons. We invest at the sounds of cannons. There is no cannons in Lebanon. We just need a little bit of peace of mind. The problem is not the chaos around us, it's the chaos inside us. And we should find solutions the soonest. And people like him can find solution and the soonest also. So we are counting on young ministers, on initiatives to allow us to reach safe shores the soonest. I just want to remind everyone that in 2006, growth was about 0.3%, 0.3%. In 2007, it reached 7.5% in 10-month time. So Lebanese potential, Lebanese capacities are huge, and we should take advantage of it. Today, expected growth for the next 3 years, is about 1.8%, above average, European average. So potential is here. We should enjoy it. We should take advantage of it. Without you, we cannot do anything. We are counting also on you and counting on the diplomacy, because ministers and ambassadors comes and goes, but what remains are businessmen. So let's give a huge applause to Fadi Zouki. Thank you very much.
Lebanese community in Australia. I hope we will be able to send you wine and olive oil and free cake and all our extremely good Lebanese food. Thank you. I want to thank Family for the great initiative and this International Commerce House